Hi, my name is Miss Christy. I have the best job ever because I get to bring art lessons to you. You were probably with me last week when we made our pizza crust and we talked about solids, liquids, and gases. So we're going to finish that project today. Your teacher and I are probably talking about some of the same things. And we are going to explore lots of different subjects. And this time we're going to be talking about science and a little bit of kitchen science where we're cooking with our artwork. The only supplies that you'll need are 2 pieces of regular paper. If you have construction paper of different colors, that's good too. You could cut out your shapes and you don't have to color them. But we're going to use crayons to color our shapes, and then we're going to use scissors to cut them out and a glue stick to glue our toppings onto our pizza. So we're coming to you today thanks to the Acadiana Center for the Arts and the Lafayette Parish School System in Lafayette, Louisiana. You might be watching this in your classroom or you might be watching this at home. Either way, teachers, if you ever need to press pause to let students catch up and then press play, that's totally fine. So let's get started. We're going to start by cutting out our pizza crust first. So find your scissors and your pizza, and we're going to cut all the way around the pizza. Are you ready? Let's go. So I have mine here up on the wall. Yours is probably on your table or your desk. We're going to cut our pizzas out together. You've probably thought about what you want to put on your pizza. So remember, it needs to be simple. We're going to use our toppings to make that image. And we're going to try to spread those toppings out a little bit. First, we're going to start by cutting it out. So while I'm cutting mine out, you cut yours out too. Okay. And it's okay to just cut those pieces off and let them fall on your desk. So if we were making a real crust, we would roll our crust out on the counter or on our table, and we would shape it the way we want it. All right, I have mine cut out. Now mine is up here on the wall so you can see it, but yours is probably on your desk. Take your time, go all the way around your shape, and when you're done, go ahead and put your scissors down. We're going to use them again in a little while. The next step is we're going to fold a piece of paper in thirds. Have you ever heard someone say that before? Thirds? What does that mean? Well, it means that it's something that was folded in 3. And the way you do that is you can think of it as creating an S with the paper. So you just fold it toward the middle, and then you fold the other side the other way. So it creates an S. Can you see that? Or a Z. So when you get it like that, you just fold it down and you press that out and pinch it to where it folds it nice and neat. Now it doesn't have to be perfectly straight lines. You can see this one's off. It's okay. we're going to be using these to make our toppings. There we go. We're going to cut each one of these out. So grab your scissors again and cut out along the folded line. Can you see that folded line? And just let it fall on your table. So find that folded line and just use the scissors to cut all the way from the bottom to the top along that fold. And it doesn't have to be right on the fold, you just want to be near it. So now my paper, one of my pieces of paper is now cut in thirds. 1, 2, 3. So these will be for my toppings. 2 of these are going to be for our toppings, and 1 of them is going to be for our cheese. So what I want you to do is find your yellow crayon, and you're going to use your yellow, and you're just going to color a little bit of the whole thing yellow. But it doesn't have to be a lot. Just a little bit, just enough to give that cheese a little golden color. Now what are we going to do with it next? How do we turn this into cheese? You're going to tear it into tiny little pieces and make a little pile of cheese. Usually when we make a pizza, we have about a handful of cheese that we start with. And well, this, I want you to just tear it and keep tearing it. So you can see this is a big long piece, but I want you to keep tearing until they're tiny little pieces. And you can even tear a bunch at once. So you can tear and stack them, and then once you have a few stacked like this, can you see that? There's 3 little pieces. You can tear those 3. And if there's more than that, it makes it kind of hard to tear. So no more than that. And you're going to keep all your cheese in a little pile. So just keep tearing those little pieces of paper for your cheese. You can see it tears and it leaves these nice little rough edges. So we kind of want that texture. Have you ever heard that word before? Texture? Can you say that? Texture. That's right. Texture is the way something looks like it feels. Now, sometimes when you look at the wall, it looks like wood, but it's really smooth. Or if you see a brick wall, you can see that if you rubbed your hand on those bricks, it would feel like a rough texture. So you can have rough and smooth. You can have a glassy, cold kind of texture. It can be kind of soft, like velvet, or like a kitten's fur. That's texture. So what we're going to be creating with our pieces of paper is texture. Do you have your cheese ready? While you're tearing your paper, I wanted to talk to you about what happens to the pizza when you put it in the oven. What happens? Well, usually the oven is set to a really high temperature, usually about 400 degrees. I know, 400 degrees. Water boils at 212. Do you remember me saying that last time? 212 is the temperature that water has to get to boil. And when it boils, you can see the steam coming off of it. And that steam is something we can see with our eyes, where the water is going from being a liquid to a gas. It's in the air. But what about when the pizza's in the oven and it's 400 degrees? What's happening in there? Well, when we cook our food, it changes it. Not only does it make it more healthy in that it might kill germs that are on the food, it also does something to the food that helps our bodies break it down. So usually you'll see whenever meat is cooked or bread is cooked or vegetables are cooked, they change. And often that's because the water in those things is coming out as a gas. So think about what would happen if we put ice cream in the oven. I have these pictures over here. This picture right here of someone putting a pizza in the oven. But I have it underneath this snow cone. What would happen if we put a snow cone in the oven? It would melt like that. So it would go from being solid ice to a liquid. The same thing with ice cream. Usually ice cream is made with milk. That milk would turn into a liquid again. And teachers, if you need to pause, go ahead and pause the video. Let students catch up and then press play and we'll do the next step. I'm going to keep going. Are you ready to keep going? Here we go. So up here I have my pizza crust up here on the wall, but you probably have yours on the table. I want you to take your glue stick and you're going to rub all over where the sauce is. You remember when we colored in the sauce? We're going to put a lot of glue stick on that pizza. We want to make sure those toppings stick. Did you do that yet? Go ahead. Now, if you have liquid glue is totally different. You only need a tiny bit of liquid glue. And if you have a glue stick, teachers, encourage your kids to use their glue stick. If they have liquid glue, we're going to be putting just a little bit of glue here and there to put on our cheese. It's a little bit different with that liquid glue, huh? It makes a big mess. All right, so after you get your glue on, you're going to take your paper and you're going, and I have one here to show you. This is the kind of texture that I was talking about. Do you remember when I made a square pizza? I made a circle and I made a heart-shaped pizza. Do you remember that? So if I was doing this heart-shaped pizza, I would put my glue and I would take my cheese, just like if we were using real cheese, and I'd sprinkle it over the pizza. All over. Can you see that? And then you're going to very gently press it down. Go ahead and try that. While you do that, I'm going to be sticking my cheese onto my pizza up here on the wall. And some of your pieces can be big and some of your pieces can be small. With the big ones like this one, you'll have to go back in and put a little bit more glue on top. As soon as you have your whole pizza covered in cheese, we'll be ready for the next step. If you finish before someone next to you, and then ask them if they need some help. Just like we would help in the kitchen. Do y'all ever help in the kitchen at home? Maybe you help load the dishwasher, or maybe you help put away some of the different things that you can reach, like plastic containers. Do you ever help set the table when it's dinner time? How about chop vegetables? I get my kids to chop vegetables for our salad if we have salad for dinner. They like to peel carrots. They like to cut up cucumbers. It's really fun to work together in the kitchen. And then after you're done eating, you help clean up the mess. How's it going? Is your pizza covered yet? So I'm going to go ahead and finish putting the cheese on my octagon pizza. And then I'll be back to do the next step. All right, I'm back. And I finished covering my whole pizza crust with the cheese. And you can see there's only a little bit of the sauce peeking out from underneath. So you want to try to go ahead and cover the whole thing and maybe even put some of the little pieces of paper right on top of the other ones so that you create, what was it that we called it? Texture. Can you say that? Texture. Yeah. Okay. So what about those toppings? I know everybody likes a certain kind of pizza. Like my kids love cheese and pepperoni. My little girl usually just wants cheese, and that's okay. If you want to make just a cheese pizza, you can color some other colors to make a little bit of variety in the composition. Have you ever heard that word before? Composition? It's a big word. Composition means the way something looks and how it's arranged. How did you put those shapes? How did you put that texture? And what does it look like? Is it spread out? Is it over the whole pizza? Or is it just in one little spot? And we want to try to spread our toppings out a little bit. So I want you to think about that. Think about what you're going to put on your pizza. Now I have some examples of toppings here. So what shape is a pepperoni? A circle. That's right. It's a circle and it's usually kind of red and speckled. Now we could draw that. If we were to draw some little circles and color them in red, that could be our pepperoni. If you like tomatoes on your pizza like I do, then it could be a tomato. Now, what else is a good topping? Ooh, yeah, that's right. Some people put bacon on their pizza. Some people like to put ham on their pizza. Some people like to put ham and pineapple. Have you ever had a Hawaiian pizza before? That's what that is. Usually it's ham and pineapple. You can use a triangle shape to do pineapple. You could use the same circles that we did for pepperoni, but you could color it pink for ham. So I have some examples to show you. So ahead of time, I went ahead and drew in some circles. And this is what your other 2/3 is for. Can you say 2/3? 2/3. 2/3 is the other pieces of paper from that one sheet of paper that we folded. And they look like this, right? So you're going to draw some toppings. Now I went ahead and drew this with a pencil. But you can just draw it with the color that you're going to use for that topping. So, for example, I have ham here that's pink, and I have pepperoni. Make these shapes first, and then cut them out with my scissors. What are some other shapes that you know? Squares. So what usually on a pizza would be shaped like a square? Well, what about chicken? I love to put chicken on my pizza. and it's usually a pretty brown color whenever it's finished cooking. So I have here some squares that I used, two different browns here. You can see this one of the triangles is a dark brown, and this one here is a light brown, and you can blend those colors together. One of the things that you can do instead of drawing out a shape is you can color your strip of paper with one solid color and then cut shapes out of that. What do I mean by that? Well, since I'm going to go ahead and put spinach on my pizza, I colored one of my thirds, all green. And then I'll just cut out some leaf shapes. Do you want to see me do that? All right. And you can cut out circles. You can cut out squares this way. To do a leaf, I cut a curve. And then I did a curve back the other way. So I have here one of my spinach leaves. And I'm going to put that on my pizza. Oh, but it's too big. In this size of the composition, I need to make sure that my toppings are the right size. So what do if my shape is too big? Well, I can cut it down and make two shapes out of one. So I'm just going to cut around there. That's the right size. So you go ahead and try that with one of your strips of paper. So whenever you cut something out like this, and maybe it's all in a row, you can cut it out in rows or columns, and then cut out just one like this, and then cut it out. It's much easier to hold a small piece of paper than a really big floppy piece of paper, because it kind of wants to get away from you, huh? It's a little bit too hard to hold on to. But a nice small piece of paper is much easier to hold on to. So what are we going to use our shapes to make? If you want to just put toppings on your pizza and not worry about a picture, then just put toppings on. If you want to put like the initial of your name, like the first letter in my name is a C, so I could put a C, then I could do that with my toppings. If you want to make a picture, then you're going to need to use some shapes and do that picture with those shapes. And even though this is a pizza, it is also a piece of art as well. So go ahead and use your imagination. What I'm going to go ahead and do is, since I did an octagon like a stop sign, I'm just going to spell out the word stop with my toppings. And since I love spinach on my pizza, that's what I'm going to use. But you can use any shapes and colors and toppings that you want on your pizza. All right, so I have my leaves here, and I'm going to go ahead and arrange them to spell out the word stop. You go ahead and arrange your toppings how you want. Do you remember what that's called when we arrange something on a piece of paper, on our artwork? It's called a composition. Can you say that again? Composition. Yeah. So go ahead and make your composition on your pizza. So I have my shapes cut out for my toppings. Do you have yours ready to go? Good. Now, one last test before we add any more toppings is I want you to hold on to your pizza. I have this square one here, and I want you to shake it. Now, one of my pieces of cheese just fell off. This is a kind of test to make sure that you have enough glue and that all of your pieces stuck. and it might look like it's snowing on your desk, or it might all stick and it's ready for the toppings. If they do fall off, then just take your glue stick, put a little bit more glue in the places where they fell off, and then add them back on. That's the same way we're going to put on our toppings. We're going to use our glue stick and right over the top of the cheese, wherever you want to put your toppings, put glue, enough glue so that your toppings will stick. So I'm going to spell out the word stop. Remember, you can write the first initial of your name, you can make a picture, or you can just put your toppings on your pizza. So I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to use my glue stick to draw out S. Now this kind of glue is purple when it's wet, and you can see the S. So I'm going to take my spinach leaves and I'm going to put them right there. So you go ahead and try that. Put your glue where you want to put your toppings and then glue your toppings on. I'm going to keep going. How do you spell stop? Does anybody know? S-T-O-P spells stop. So now I'm going to put the glue on for my T. And I'm trying to make sure that I have enough room for my O and my P. There. Now I'm going to do my O. How's yours coming along? Good. Keep working. We're almost there. Do my P. There's my stop sign pizza. I want to thank you for being with me today for this project. We learned so many things. We learned about texture, and that's the way something might feel if we touch it, and that artists sometimes trick your eye into thinking there's a texture there just by putting in some details like this. We also learned about solids, liquids, and gases, and how we can find a lot of those things, really good examples of them in our kitchen. When we turn on the faucet and water comes out, that's a liquid. The sink and the faucet itself is a solid. And then if we boil that water and it turns into steam, that's turning the water back into a gas. Whenever someone is working in the kitchen, ask, how can I help? Even if it's just to set the table or chop vegetables, everybody can do something in the kitchen. If you want to share your artwork with us, you can share it with us on social media. You can talk to your parents. You can post it on our Facebook page at Acadiana Center for the Arts, or you can email it to us through our website, Acadiana Center for the Arts. You can find these lessons anytime on the Acadiana Center for the Arts YouTube channel or on the LPSS website. I encourage you to look for all the shapes in our world. Our whole world is made of shapes. Look around, you can see them everywhere. So have a great day, and I can't wait to see you next time.